You know the feeling when Monday morning hits and your mind is already counting down to Friday. But what if making weekdays feel better didn't require a complete life overhaul or waiting for the weekend to finally arrive? The approach we're talking about today is something I call a weekday anchor, one small intentional pause you can weave into any ordinary day. This topic is about learning to find real satisfaction in your regular weekdays, not just in the brief moments of a weekend. It matters because most of us spend 5 days waiting for 2 days, and that leaves a lot of life feeling empty. The idea is simple. You can shift your experience so that Monday through Friday feel meaningful and enjoyable on their own. Instead of seeing weekdays as a hurdle to clear, you start to see them as a place where you can actually feel good. A common misunderstanding is that this requires big changes, but it really comes down to small shifts in how you pay attention. The relief here is that you don't need to escape your life to feel better, you just need to be present in a different way. The practical takeaway is that your weekdays already have moments of peace and comfort, you just have to learn to notice them. Let's talk about why this matters so much for your everyday well-being. This matters because your well-being is built on the small moments that happen every single day, not just on rare occasions. When you constantly wait for the weekend, you train your brain to see most of your life as something to get through. That pattern drains your energy and makes you feel tired even when you haven't done much. The truth is that your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a Tuesday and a Saturday unless you teach it. A common pitfall is thinking you need a big vacation to feel better, but that only reinforces the waiting habit. The benefit here is that by finding small pockets of ease during the week, you actually build more resilience and calm. The simple takeaway is that your well-being is not a weekend project, it's a daily practice. Now let's look at what life actually feels like when this kind of presence is missing. When this is missing, your weekdays feel like a long stretch of gray time that you just have to survive. You wake up on Monday already thinking about Friday, and that makes every hour feel heavier than it needs to. The experience is one of constant waiting, where you are never fully in the moment you are actually living. A realistic truth is that this waiting mindset makes you miss small joys, like a quiet morning or a calm afternoon. You might not even realize you are doing it because it has become such a normal way to think. The problem is that this habit keeps you from feeling rested and content, even when you have free time. The insight here is that you are not actually tired from your work. You are tired from the constant anticipation of something better. So let's talk about the common habits and beliefs that keep this cycle going. If this idea of making weekdays feel better really resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Which small shift from today feels the most doable for your own routine? You can share your thought in the comments below. It helps me know what you need more of. While you're here, hitting the like button helps other people find this kind of gentle support too. And if you haven't already, subscribing means you will not miss the next video about bringing more ease into everyday life. Sometimes just naming one small step out loud makes it easier to actually try. So whether you comment, like, or just sit with the question, thank you for being part of this space. Let's keep exploring how to make the ordinary days feel a little better, one choice at a time. One of the biggest blocks is the belief that weekdays are supposed to be hard and weekends are supposed to be easy. This belief makes you stop looking for comfort during the week because you think it just isn't available. Another pattern is that you fill your weekdays with too much noise and distraction, leaving no room for quiet moments. A common habit is checking the calendar constantly, which keeps your mind focused on future days instead of the one you are in. The misunderstanding here is that you think you need to earn your rest, but that just keeps you in a cycle of waiting. The truth is that these patterns are not your fault, they are just learned responses that you can unlearn. The practical takeaway is that you can start to notice when you are mentally checking out of the present moment. Now, let's move into the first mindset shift that can help you change this. The first mindset shift is to stop seeing your weekdays as a problem to solve and start seeing them as a place to live. This matters because your attitude toward the day determines how much energy and peace you actually feel. Instead of thinking, I just have to get through this, you can start thinking, I am here right now and that is enough. A practical way to do this is to remind yourself that the present moment is the only one that exists, and it is not a waiting room. A realistic truth is that this shift feels strange at first because you are so used to looking ahead. The benefit is that once you make this change, you stop feeling like your life is on hold until the weekend. The simple takeaway is that you can choose to be present with whatever is happening, even if it is just a regular Tuesday. Let's move into the first practical step you can take to begin making this real. The first practical step is to pick one small moment during your weekday and decide to be fully present in it. This could be something as simple as the first sip of your morning drink or the quiet minute after you sit down. The idea is to give that moment your full attention without thinking about what comes next or what you are missing. A realistic truth is that this will feel awkward at first because your mind will want to wander, and that is completely normal. The pitfall here is that you might try to do this for too long, so start with just a few seconds of real presence. The benefit is that even a short moment of full attention can reset your nervous system and make the rest of the day feel lighter. The simple takeaway is that you are not trying to change your whole schedule, you are just changing how you experience one small part of it. In the next part of this video, we will explore how to build on this first step so your weekdays start to feel genuinely better. So, let's paint a picture of what this actually looks like during a regular Tuesday. It's not about suddenly loving every single moment of your commute or your inbox. Instead, it's about noticing that a few small pockets of the day already feel okay, even good. For example, you might find yourself actually enjoying the quiet 5 minutes before a meeting starts. Or you realize that walking from your car to the door feels less like a chore and more like a tiny reset. The key is that these moments don't require anything special to happen. They were always there. You're just training your attention to land on them instead of skipping ahead to Friday. And once you see this in action, it starts to feel less like a theory and more like a reliable shift. One simple habit that can help is setting a single anchor moment each weekday morning. This isn't a full routine or a long meditation, just one small thing you do the same way every day. It could be something as quiet as pausing for one breath before you grab your phone or taking a sip of water and actually tasting it. The point is to create a brief, intentional pause that signals to your brain, this day is mine too. Over time, that anchor becomes a gentle reminder that weekdays aren't just obstacles to get through. You don't have to stick with the same anchor forever. Just pick one and try it for a few days. The relief comes from realizing you don't need a big overhaul, just a tiny reset point. And once that feels natural, you can let other small anchors pop up during the day on their own. If you're looking for more simple, grounded ideas to bring more calm and ease into your daily life, I have something for you. Over at www.happylifetribe.com, you'll find resources that match the kind of gentle, practical shift we talked about today. There are articles and guides focused on small habits, emotional support, and building a life that feels more intentional without being overwhelming. Everything there is designed to be usable right where you are, not some far-off ideal. Whether you want inspiration for better weekdays or quiet encouragement for your whole week, it's a place you can turn to again and again. No pressure, no big promises, just honest support for the real moments of your day. You can visit anytime and it's completely free to explore. Consider it a little toolkit for making your everyday world feel a little more like home. A common mistake people make is trying to force themselves to feel happy or grateful during every work hour. That pressure actually backfires, making the weekday feel even more like a performance. The goal isn't to pretend everything is wonderful, but to stop treating the present moment as something to escape. When you catch yourself thinking, I should be more positive about this, that's a sign you're pushing too hard. Real change happens when you allow the day to be exactly as it is without judging it as bad or boring. You might even notice that some of the most draining moments come from resisting what's already happening. So instead of forcing a mood, just let yourself be curious about what's actually here right now. That softer approach is what makes weekdays feel less like a test and more like ordinary life. To keep this realistic, start with the smallest slice of your day that you can stand to pay attention to. Maybe it's just the first bite of your lunch break, or the moment you sit down in your car after work. Pick one moment that's already easy to access, not one that requires extra time or effort. Then, instead of trying to stretch that feeling across the whole day, let it be enough that you noticed it once. The overwhelm comes when we think we have to transform every hour, but that's not how this works. You're just giving yourself permission to be present for a few seconds, and that's plenty to start. Over the course of a week, those few seconds add up and begin to shift your baseline. And when you feel the relief of not having to fix everything, the practice becomes something you want to do, not something you have to do. As you practice this, you'll notice a quiet emotional shift, less urgency to escape the current moment. The constant mental chatter about only 2 more days until the weekend starts to soften. You might even feel a slight increase in patience during tasks that used to irritate you. Anxiety tends to drop because you're no longer fighting against the clock or waiting for relief. Instead of feeling drained by Monday afternoon, you might notice a surprising bit of energy tucked inside your afternoon. This doesn't mean you suddenly love spreadsheets or traffic, but they stop running your inner world. You begin to trust that weekday life can hold small moments of ease without needing a big event. That inner calm becomes a resource you can draw on even when the day gets messy. Of course, life will get busy again, and old habits of waiting for the weekend will try to creep back in. The trick isn't to never slip, but to have a simple way to reset without guilt. You can use that same anchor moment from earlier, even just one breath, to reconnect with the present. Or you can ask yourself a quick question like, what's one thing in this moment that's not a problem? That question cuts through the noise and reminds you that some part of this weekday is already fine. You don't have to start over from scratch, you just have to return to your smallest practice. Consistency here comes from making the reset so easy that you can do it even on your worst days. And once that becomes your default, the weekdays start to hold their own steady rhythm, which we'll talk about next. Over weeks and months, this small practice starts to reshape how your ordinary weekdays feel from the inside out. You stop measuring your life by the distance to Friday and instead begin to find small moments of ease on a Tuesday afternoon. The routine doesn't magically disappear, but your relationship to it softens. You notice the warmth of your coffee, the quiet before a meeting starts, the satisfying rhythm of a familiar task. Gradually, you might even catch yourself feeling grateful for the predictable structure of a workday, because it carries you through tasks that once felt draining. The shift is not dramatic, it's more like a slowly deepening quiet, where the ordinary hours start to hold their own gentle value. This doesn't mean every day becomes exciting, but the weight of waiting for the weekend begins to lift and presence becomes more natural. The real gift is that you no longer need a special day to feel okay. You find okayness right in the middle of a Thursday morning. As this deepens, you'll notice that even when life feels heavy, the weekday no longer feels like a prison. One thing that makes a huge difference when you're trying to bring more ease into your weekdays is knowing you're not doing it alone. That's why I invite you to join the growing community over at www.happylifetribe.com. There you'll find other people who are also learning to live with more intention, gratitude, and emotional balance in their everyday lives. You can share what works for you, discover what works for others, and feel supported without any judgment or pressure. We all have days that feel heavy or routine, and having a space to come back to can make all the difference. If that sounds good, subscribing here on YouTube also keeps you connected to this same kind of calm, real talk. No need to rush, just know there's a place for you when you want it. Let's keep building better weekdays together, one small step, one shared moment at a time. Even after weeks of practice, a challenging week can still pull you back into the old pattern of just getting through the hours. Maybe a stressful project lands on your desk, or a bad night's sleep leaves you irritable and disconnected from the small pleasures you've been cultivating. In those moments, the weekday can once again feel like something to survive, and the weekend becomes a distant promise again. This setback is normal. It doesn't mean you've lost all progress, only that you're human and life has natural ups and downs. The trap is to think you've failed completely and that the whole approach doesn't work, when really you're just having a rough patch. Remind yourself that the practice isn't about never feeling stuck. It's about noticing when you feel stuck and gently steering back toward presence. One tough day does not erase the dozen good days that came before it, so hold that perspective close. Understanding that setbacks are part of the process helps you meet them with patience instead of frustration. When you notice yourself slipping back into the weekend-only mindset, the first step is simply to stop and notice it without judgment. You don't need to force yourself to feel better immediately. Just acknowledge that the old habit has returned and that it's okay. Then, take one small action that reconnects you to the practice. Pause for 3 slow breaths, look out the window for 10 seconds, or name one thing in the room that feels neutral or pleasant. This tiny move redirects your attention away from the relentless waiting and back into the present moment, even if only for a few seconds. Recovery is not about jumping back into a full routine. It's about rebuilding the muscle memory one gentle choice at a time. You might also ask yourself what actually triggered the slip, exhaustion, disappointment, or a sudden overload, and address that root cause rather than just the symptom. Over time, these recoveries get faster and easier because you've already built the neural pathway for presence. Each time you return, you strengthen the skill and the weekday begins to feel manageable once more. This approach helps anyone who feels like their weekdays are just a waiting room for the weekend, but it especially resonates with people who live on a tight schedule. If you have a repetitive job, long commute, or responsibilities that leave little room for spontaneity, this practice can bring unexpected relief. It also helps those who struggle with anxiety about time slipping away because it teaches you to inhabit each hour rather than race past it. Parents juggling work and family, remote workers feeling isolated, and students grinding through semesters all benefit from finding small islands of presence in ordinary hours. Even people who love their work can fall into the weekend trap when burnout creeps in, and this practice helps them reconnect to the parts of their day they actually enjoy. The common thread is that everyone, at some point, has felt the heaviness of Monday and the longing for Friday, and this topic offers a gentle way out of that cycle. It's not about escaping your life, it's about softening into the life you're already living, 1 minute at a time. If that sounds like something you need, then this practice is absolutely for you. You can start right now, without any special tools or preparation, by setting a single intention for the next few hours. Pick one ordinary moment that will happen today, like washing your hands, walking to your car, or opening your email, and decide to pay full attention to it. When that moment arrives, pause for just 3 seconds and notice something specific. The temperature of the water, the sound of your footsteps, the weight of your phone in your hand. That tiny pause is your first small step toward making weekdays feel better without waiting for the weekend. Tomorrow, choose a different ordinary moment and repeat the same pause, letting the practice grow 1 day at a time. Write it down if you need a reminder, or set a gentle alarm on your phone to nudge you at a random time each day. The goal is not to do this perfectly, but to build a habit of noticing so that presence becomes a natural part of your weekday rhythm. Once this simple pause feels familiar, you can expand it into longer moments like a 5-minute break without your phone, but start small and keep it realistic. The shift from waiting to living is one of the quietest but most meaningful changes you can make in your daily life. It doesn't require a vacation, a new job, or a dramatic schedule overhaul, just a willingness to look at ordinary hours with fresh eyes. The weekends will still come and they will still bring rest and joy, but they will no longer be the only reason you feel okay. You will start to carry a sense of steadiness through the entire week, and that steadiness is something no calendar can take away. There will be hard days, but even on those days, you will know that the next moment might hold a small pocket of peace if you choose to look for it. This practice is not about forcing happiness, it's about allowing the weekday to be enough, just as it is. You have already taken the first step by thinking about this, and now you can begin with the smallest pause today. Go gently, stay curious, and remember that every ordinary day is a chance to come back to yourself. So as you move through the rest of your week, I hope you give yourself permission to try just one of these small shifts. You don't have to wait for Saturday to feel a little more ease in your day. Even tiny changes can help the ordinary hours feel lighter and more yours. If this video brought you something useful, please take a moment to like it and subscribe to Happy Life Tribe. For more gentle encouragement and practical ideas, you can visit www.happylifetribe.com. There you'll find support, calm living inspiration, and mindful lifestyle guidance to help you build a life that feels good right now. Thank you for spending this time with me and for choosing to bring a little more kindness into your weekdays. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and until then, take things one small good moment at a time